wow, so Velma really was an absolute mess and a true disaster, and I hope it goes down as a real lesson for how not to do a reimagining. Now, while I can appreciate and applaud them for at least trying to do something really, really different with the Scooby Doo mythos, even though Scooby Doo was nowhere to be found in this series, I just feel like they just went way too far and just lost and diluted everything that people love about the Scooby Doo brand. And there were just so many things that unfortunately just did not work in Velma. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video, we are going to be reviewing and breaking down Velma, which was a true absolute disaster of a TV series. Now, I am a massive Scooby Doo fan, so despite all of the horrendous reviews that Velma was receiving, I did want to at least give it a bit of a chance and to see if it really is as bad as everybody is making it out to be. But unfortunately, I just can't defend this series. Everything that people love about the Scooby Doo franchise seems to have been completely removed and completely void in this reimagining. Now, I think if they do get a second season, then they can try to remedy some of this, as it does purposefully try to position itself taking place before any of the stuff that we know and love about the Scooby-Doo characters. But I don't really like it when movies and TV shows have that kind of a premise, as it's like, why are we bothering to watch this then? That being said though, I do feel like the second half of the Velma series, as far as the first season is concerned, if it even does get a second season, but you know, the second half of the first part is a little bit stronger, as you do kind of feel a little bit more invested into the mystery, and it is a little bit intriguing and a little bit gripping as well. But unfortunately, what they did with all of the different characters, all of the different storylines, and the true in-your-face social commentary that doesn't even land well was just so bad. And I'm just going to be breaking it all down with you in this TV series review. So the Velma series positions itself in terms of being a bit of an alternate origin storyline with completely race-bent characters, with Velma Dinkley being front and center in this iteration, and she is investigating the disappearance of her mother, as well as the serial killer that is killing off a lot of characters and removing their brains, as well as there being a love quadrangle between the four main characters, as Scooby-Doo is nowhere to be seen in this situation. Now, from a positives point of view, you know, I do applaud them for at least trying to do new things, having a bit of a brand new interpretation, and having a modern lens that you look at all of the different characters from, along with having a true modern lens. So what would the Scooby-Doo characters look like and be like and feel like and sound like and all that sort of stuff from a modern lens perspective? And you obviously can't miss the fact that this is a truly diverse representation of what the Scooby-Doo characters could look like. And of course, there's a couple of different mysteries taking place and a lot of different suspects. And what I did really like is at the end of every single episode, there is a bit of a post-credit scene, which of course Marvel made infamous. So it's really cool to see it here as well. However, from a negatives point of view, how many times have we seen a bit of an origin storyline taking place with the Scooby-Doo characters? I feel like whenever anybody wants to try to do something new, they just think, okay, let's do another origin storyline reinterpretation. And I feel like they've just done so many now. And every single character in this series is just so unlikable. You can't root for any of them, as their representations in this series are just so cringy and just so frustrating. And even though it does have a modern lens, which like I said was a good thing, I just feel like they stuffed this series with so many social issues, and I feel like that just really does take away from the enjoyment that you can have whenever you're watching movies and TV shows. As like I said, it is really important and really great to have this included and to educate your audience, but I feel like first and foremost you have to entertain them, and then you can educate them. And I feel like this series not only does it in reverse, but also just doesn't make either of them enjoyable. And the storylines, the characters, the mysteries, everything in this series is just so irritating. It's really not that clever. It thinks it's trying to be really clever, but it's just not landing. And it's just trying really hard in the worst possible way. And it just comes across as being really strange and just void of any humor, any fun aspects. I wasn't laughing at all with any of the different characters, whereas with the other iterations of Scooby-Doo, I am laughing my head off as they are just so brilliant, so humorous, and like I said, all of that is just not here, unfortunately. And so from a storyline perspective, this series just does not work. So from a cast and characters point of view, they take a lot of liberties with all of the different characters, so let's go through them one by one. So first of course we have Velma Dinkley, who is just the most irritating lead character ever, and I actually really like Velma in all of the other iterations, Whereas here, they've tried to make her likable, but they've done the opposite, as she is just so unlikable. She is so horrible to her friends and family. She thinks she's better than everybody else. She's really, really rude. And she tries to justify this and defend herself by trying to say, look, I'm just trying so hard to find my long-lost mother. But she is just such a horrible friend. You can see why nobody really likes her, and usually the unpopular characters, you are rooting for them. Whereas in this iteration, I feel like it is impossible to root for the Velma character. But begrudgingly, if you are such a super fan, you are just going to try and watch it. So you are forced to be with this character as she is trying to solve all of the mysteries. Firstly, like I said, about her long-lost mother, along with the fact of all of these characters losing their brains, what is really happening with the serial killer. But it's not only Velma that you don't really like, as you don't like any of these other different characters. Fred Jones, I feel like, is the closest to being one of the characters that you do kind of like, as he is just so oblivious, and underneath it all, he is a bit of a nice guy, even though, you know, they do represent him in terms of having true white privilege, is really, really rich, isn't that intelligent, and is in a bit of a love triangle between him, Daphne, and Velma. And Velma teaches him a lot about women's rights, and then he does become a bit of an ambassador and a support network for a lot of the women in this show, which I do think was pretty funny. And he is at the brunt of a lot of jokes at his expense. We then have Daphne, who they completely turned into a brand new character, as by contrast, she is not rich, she is not privileged, she has lesbian parents, and her real parents are criminals who have run away. And if anything, I wish they would have pushed that storyline a little bit further, as it could have been really, really interesting. And even though it is very slight in the beginning, she is a little bit attracted to Fred, and then she is just mega attracted to Velma. I really do want to love Norville and Shaggy, but he is just literally, in the similar way to Daphne, just feels like a brand new character that you can't really compare him to Shaggy at all. So he has had a complete personality transplant, but you know, that being said, he is the nicest one out of all of them. He is the most level-headed out of all of them as well, and he just gets taken advantage of by so many of the other characters. Scooby Doo, like I said before, doesn't make any appearance, but the name Scooby is mentioned here as it is the brain transplant group. So it's a bit of an acronym for this, and there are a lot of other mentions of their catchphrases, for example, Jinkies being a name of a drug in this series. Similarly to Mystery Incorporated and the other origin type storylines, you do get to see a lot of their parents here, and of course Velma's mother, Dia, does become a bit of a main character towards the end of this series. It does also have the typical stereotypes in high school, for example, the popular kids. The brains are really, really funny when they kind of make an appearance towards the end of this series as well. And Daphne's lesbian parents are both police officers, so make a lot of appearances when the gang are trying to solve various different mysteries. So from a casting character's point of view, unfortunately, Velma just does not work. So if Velma does get a second season, I feel like that second season will be the true origin of Mystery Incorporated, as the final moments of season 1 does kind of tease a lot of the things that you are then going to see. For example, the Mystery Inc. machine is now owned by Fred, and he is creating it in the way that we all know and love. Shaggy's dad is suggesting that he takes drugs which might morph him into the Shaggy Rogers that we all know and love. Daphne seems to find a clue from her mysterious parents, so maybe this will make her rich and a little bit obnoxious and similar to the Daphne that we then see later on in the series, and she is also learning martial arts, so really will be able to defend herself. I did think it was pretty hilarious how the villain behind it all was Fred's parents, once again, as of course we saw this in Mystery Incorporated, and this time it is his mother that was the mastermind behind everything, as she was hypnotizing Dia, who was Velma's mother, to recreate the Scooby research so that she can do a lot of brain surgery. As Dia then was able to obtain Edna's original plans for how she created all of this in the first place. And they also do explain that Edna then destroyed her research as she was seeing that it was going to be used for nefarious purposes. So, you know, they do explain everything, they do wrap everything up, but I'd have to say from a storyline perspective, they just could have done so much better. So from a visuals perspective, unfortunately, I just did not like this about Velma either. I feel like they tried really, really hard to make it really edgy, to try to make it really, really different. But just the visual style, just for me, just did not work. And if anything, it just put me off even further from this series. I mean, I can see what they were trying to do in terms of trying to make it really edgy, trying to make it really, really different. And they have now revealed some original alternative concept art that they had for this series. And I wish they would have gone down that road, as that artwork looked so much better. But unfortunately, what they did choose just felt really, really dated in the worst possible way. So from a comparison perspective, Velma also did not work. I feel like everything that they tried to do with the Velma series, Mystery Incorporated just did 10 million times better. So unfortunately, I feel like Velma is just the worst iteration of a Scooby Doo franchise. I mean, even Be Cool Scooby Doo, I really was not a fan of that series at all. But I feel like even that one is stronger than Velma. So I do hope that the next time that they try to reinvigorate the Scooby Doo franchise, they do a much better job than what they did with Velma. So overall, I really wanted to enjoy Velma, but the storylines, the characters, the visuals, the mystery, everything about this series just did not work, unfortunately. Like I said, the second half is slightly stronger than the first half, as the first half is just absolutely horrendous. A true car crash, but it does improve, but unfortunately not enough to make it all worthwhile. And so for all of those reasons, I have to give Velma a 2.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this series, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.